Well, hi, this is Jay Arthur, author of Lean Six Sigma Demystified and the QI Macros. About 1984, I was a systems analyst working for the phone company. And my boss, my district level, asked me to go up and talk to one of our customers because they needed a report or something. And I went up and I, met with this guy and he was saying, well, I know this is going to take a long time. We got to write requirements to go through design and code and all that stuff, but we need this kind of a report. And I said, okay, well, what kind of report are you looking for? Right, and he kind of gave me a broad outline of this data source we were going to use and how he wanted the report headings to be and some things like that. And I said, well, give me a few minutes. And I just learned a new report writing tool, right? Because we used to write in COBOL, and that could take a very long time, and it was very it was kind of hardwired, all right? So once you were done, you had a fixed thing. But very often in software, we rarely delivered what people wanted. We delivered what was in the requirements, which was not necessarily what they wanted. So I went back to my desk. I'd learned this new report writing tool. And so, and this is the dark ages, all right? We were still using some punch cards. I think they started bringing in some TSO, time sharing option terminals for IBM, that were dumb terminals, but those weren't available yet. So I went through the book and remembered my training on this report writing thing, and I punched out a deck of cards to go produce this particular report and ran it, on the test machine, came back, got the printout, took it up to the guy. I said, is this what you're looking for? And he said, well, almost, he said that I need some other totals here and another column of that. And I said, okay, well, give me a minute, right? And so I go back to my desk, punch up a couple of new cards, run it again, bring it back. And he goes, yeah, that's exactly what we want. And I said, okay, well, let me see if I can get this going for you. So I went back to my desk. There was a whole bunch of documentation you had to write to get things running out at the computer center on Zuni Street. Anyway, I put all that stuff together and I shipped it out to the computer center, and they were like, where'd this come from? Nobody told us this was coming. Why are you doing this? And I said, well, because my customer asked for it, and I learned this new tool and it'll do it. So here, go run this for me, right? Every Tuesday night or something like that. And that started coming out every week, and I satisfied that customer requirement in a day. Things that used to take months and sometimes years to do, I could do in a day. And that kind of stuck with me, that was exciting. And I've come to the same sort of thinking around the QI macros. So back in 2006, instead of people having to go through decision trees to choose what kind of control chart to choose, the QI macros are the only software out there that asks you to select the data first and then your chart or graphic or stat or whatever, right? And so since you've selected the data, I can help figure out, should it be a control chart or a NOVA, or what should I do with this data? And so back in 2006, I created the control chart wizard. Select data, click that button, get the right chart. And then I added the stat wizard and then the pivot table wizard. And then I added a chart wizard because people were always asking me, Jay, what should I do with my data? Well, select the data, click on the chart wizard, and it'll go figure out everything you can do with that data. I was literally automating everything you could do in quality improvement. And then the last 2 years, in 16 and 17, I invented the data mining wizard. Because I kept finding these companies, and they had this row by row of defect data about when, where, what, why, how, who, what went wrong. And so I could take pivot tables, and then I could turn that into something like a control chart or Pareto chart or whatever. But that used to take me days, hours, sometimes days, to crunch through all that, depending on how big the data table was. And with the data mining wizard, I just pick a couple of headings, click a button, and get an entire improvement project ready for analysis, just like that. So that's what's coming, right? Speed is the killer app, right? In healthcare, speed is the healing app, but you get the idea. We have to find ways to automate what we do and accelerate improvement, because that's what our leadership teams are looking at. Over the last probably year and a half, 2 years, Harvard Business Review has continuously said, Six Sigma is too slow, takes too long, takes too much training. We can't do that anymore. We have to be fast. All right, so I want you to start thinking about how do we accelerate results from our quality tools? How do we start using our quality tools more effectively to get results and get them now so that a leadership team doesn't shut down the quality department? I'm Jay Arthur. That's my improvement insight for this week.